Hello, and a warm welcome to this episode of The Pep Talk. And today I'm going to talk about campus to corporate training. With my 15 years plus of corporate experience, I thought this particular module is going to definitely help those who are aspiring to get jobs and are preparing for interviews in various companies. So I thought it is only apt to make this video for all of you. So without wasting time, let me go to my presentation. So today, as I already said, the topic is campus to corporate training. So if you talk about campus to corporate training, so you are definitely preparing to get a job, isn't it? So when you prepare to get a job, what all you have to look at and work on yourself and get prepared so that you can present yourself in the best way possible. So let's see what all we'll start first with. So making positive first impression. Isn't it important? What do you think? It is important. So when you meet a person for the first time, remember, interview is where you go to present about yourself in front of an interviewer, and he or she may be seeing you for the first time. So it is only important that you make that positive first impression. And because impressions last very, very long, and the first impression does last probably forever. So, and there is also a saying that you never get a second chance to make your first impression. So, what do we have to do? You have to create that lasting impression on the person who is interviewing you. And how can you do that? You can do that with your personal appearance. You can do that with your communication. And yes, you can do that with your body language, which includes your appearance. Let's look at what comes next. What comes next, in fact, is your CV. Because your CV is the document that is seen before you walk into that interview room. So you please prepare a very good CV. There are so many formats, but the basic things like your name, address, your date of birth, email ID, and all details about your career goals and educational qualifications, certifications, and of course, your interest, hobbies. And then don't forget to sign your CV. And when you start speaking about yourself, remember, speak in sync with your CV. And yes, you just get a minute or so time to make that pitch. So it's like an elevator pitch. Do practice that whenever you are in an elevator. So, three pillars of your interview skills. Of course, your attire, which is your appearance, grooming, your dress, everything matters. Then, when you talk about particularly about your grooming, grooming doesn't only mean how you dress up, it also means how you greet people, how you walk in, what are your gestures. And of course, your body language is one of the most important thing before you start speaking. Then the ABC of that first impression that we spoke about, your image. How can you manage your image? Of course, by the way and in the tone you communicate, your body language, the way you sit, the way you walk, the way you pass on those gestures, those indirect cues where you present yourself to appear ready to get the job. Just like a doctor that you go to. Which doctor would you rather see? It doesn't matter. Later you find out who knows more, who is good. But first, that impression matters. Grooming tips. So, when grooming yourself, remember the first thing people see is your hair, your face, your dress, and of course, your shoes. So, keep your hair well combed, nicely cut, neatly tied if you're a girl. And of course, please don't forget to shave and be well groomed and neat and tidy looking. And of course, use some perfume. It helps. And then you definitely need to make sure your hands are not sweaty. And then what about your appearance? So when you talk about the appearance, certain principles do matter. And that is the part of the image management that we are talking about, how to create that impression that we just talked about. Your color of your clothes, it matters. How they're stitched, whether they fit you or not properly, it matters. Formal dress matters. Your footwear, your shoes should be polished. Your hair and your face neatly presented. And of course, you know, list out the accessories that you may not use. And then uh, the fragrance that really matters. Oral care, make sure your mouth is not smelling. So please, these are basic things. I don't think I need to tell you, but yeah, don't forget to have a mouth freshener before you walk in, not a chewing gum. Of course, particularly for men, if you're wearing dark color trousers, match it with light color shirt. And if you're wearing a blazer, it's best you wear a suit. Then when in an interview, you should wear a full sleeves shirt, not a half sleeve one, and with a proper collar, not a Chinese collar or a informal or a semi-formal shirt. And then, the patterns, it's best to have a one color shirt and not have too many funky patterns on that. And your shoes should be leather shoes and particularly should be black in color. But yeah, you can go for a brown shoes also, provided they're polished. And your socks should not be white in color, but it could match the color of your trousers closely. That would really make you look very smart. And of course, you know, when you wear the shoes, if it is black, then try to wear a belt which is also, black. And don't forget the watch, and that shows your attitude towards time. Now, as I said, accessories, some of the accessories which you may not wear, don't wear too many funky things which are not needed. Just be formally dressed. And for women, if you're wearing Western clothes, then a shirt and a coat. And if you're wearing an Indian dress, then you wear a salwar kameez or a sari. And then all the other details, particularly don't wear, stiletto heels or pencil heels. Wear normal shoes, normal chappals, that would be okay. And the rest of the details are also mentioned here. Now, when we are talking about communication is a part of that impression. So please try to follow the first and most important to have your good body language and then your tone of voice and then what you say. And don't forget that there should be clarity. And communication also means a two-way process. So please listen to the question and then answer in sync with the question. And how to prepare for that interview? Of course, try to be well prepared with your self introduction first, because that's something that is about you. You are going to talk about you in that elevator pitch, what I said, and you don't have much time. And in that time, you should be well prepared to talk about who you are, who you represent. And then you also chalk out your strengths and weaknesses and present your strengths as the ones which are going to drive you to achieve things and show interest towards that particular company, the job role, and the particular processes that you're looking at, and how you can overcome difficult situation. Today's day and age, those are important things to handle situations. Now, when speaking, do have confidence. That means the way you stand, way you have eye contact, and way you appear and you express yourself. Volume should be loud and clear, and it should not be very monotonous. The tone, I mean. So you just have a practice about that. There are barriers you can overcome, particularly nervousness. So that can only go with several practices and being prepared for an interview. And please don't assume that you know a lot of things about the interview, because anything can be asked even out of the box. And then if you're facing a telecall or an internet call or a VC, then there are certain challenges in terms of technical matters, which I think you should sort out before the interview itself. And of course, be very flexible. And of course, the noise around you could be a barrier to the communication. Then we're talking about listening skills, and listening in various manner is important, particularly when you listen to understand and then respond. And listening is also a very good non-verbal cue where it shows that you are taking keen interest in the job role. And of course, when you reply back is when you give that feedback. Hearing does not mean listening. Pretending to listen is not listening, but actually listening, noting down, and also retaining what you just heard and then answering. That's important. Then your body language. Of course, as I said, to overcome that nervousness, body language shows everything. So eye contact is important. Open posture shows you're confident, your gestures, and then if you're not nervous, it shows in the way you walk in, and how you place your hands, how you stand, how you sit. All these things matter, and of course, don't forget that smile on your face. And then there are several other aspects of that nonverbal communication, which also are the facial expressions. When you're surprised, or when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're amused, when you don't believe what you just heard. So these are expressions with your eyes, with your face. You can communicate these, and it's important part of, in fact, very important part of communication. Tone, the way you speak the same thing in a particular tone in that particular scenario. If you meet a person who is your friend, and every day you meet, you just say a hello. If you meet a person, you know, doing something which is not supposed to do, then you don't say hello. You say hello. The tone changes. And if you meet a friend after 20 years, you say hello. So it's not the same tone, but the words are the same. And that itself shows the situation in which you're speaking. So it's very important to communicate your emotions through your words in the particular tone. And in that interview process, coming back to the topic, which is the most important thing, that interview process, here you need to also follow up later after the interview and have the strategy to answer after engaging in a one-to-one process or a group discussion during the interview, and presenting your skills, yourself, your strengths in that interview, by communicating it, and also through your body language and your attitude. It matters. And if you are prepared, you already have overcome the nervousness. Possible question. What could be the possible questions? Of course, introduce yourself. Tell me about yourself. That's where you beautifully present who you are. You draw a picture like an artist in front of the person and present yourself, that who you are, what are your values, what you stand for, what are your goals. It's important. And then if they ask, then talk about your family. And then they also could ask this very important, tricky question: why should we select you? Here, you highlight those values again. You highlight your skills, the preparedness that you have taken for the interview, the career goals which are aligned with this job role. So you talk about all that to ensure that they understand that you have been working towards the goal. And strengths and weaknesses. Strengths are the ones which are going to drive you forward, which you will be using. And weaknesses are not bad. Everybody has them. But if you are aware of it, you've already done the first step where you list them down, and then you try to work on them so that one day your weaknesses becomes your strength. And believe me, it can happen. And run me through your CV. That's a question, means just talk about yourself in terms of what you have written in the CV. Your hobbies are written, your educational qualification are written, your career goal is written. So speak all that you have written in the CV. And then general conversation could happen about food. You can talk about places, you can talk about colors, you can talk about sports, in terms of your hobbies. So these are general topics you can have a small talk if the opportunity comes. Common warm topics, so weather, festivals, current affairs, career goals. This could be other topics where you could engage in a discussion, whether it's a one-to-one interview or in a group discussion. Be prepared to talk about these things and use this particular framework, form, like how you talk about your family, yourself, then your occupational goals, like your career goals, then your hobbies. Hobbies are important because it is a part of your personality, and who you are. So that's where you can also showcase the other side of you, and it really gives a picture of you in a complete manner. And then you talk about your mindset, your attitude, your motivation behind your career goals, and you coming prepared for that interview. These are important part. And of course, you can also use the STAR method cycle, where you talk about how you are able to identify situations, you can define tasks, you can drive actionable points and take action towards it. And then you are result oriented in terms of your focus when you take up a project or a job or something new. So talk about all that, and also how in a difficult situation, how in a out of the box scenario or something new or creative or innovative, or in terms of cross training and cross work, or in terms of relocation, or in terms of things that you have not expected to do, but you were having to do. So this kind of situations, how you are going to chalk out using the star method cycle is a very important part of this interview skills. And don't forget one thing: the world belongs to them who are confident. So no matter what that interview is, and no matter what preparedness you have, overconfident is bad, but confidence is one of the key elements of you actually presenting yourself in front of people, particularly in interview skills. So that's all from me. In short, thank you very much. You can contact me for more on this topic, and I'll be very happy to speak to you. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and I shall see you again on another episode of the